Hey everyone, Marsh from Consequence here. We're gonna go over Sarkareth Mythic. We overpulled this boss. I don't think it was due to strat. I think the strat was actually really good. So I'm going to walk you through what we did. It's basically what every guild does. So pretty much the meta. There is multiple strats out there. If you want to do something else, all will work. So first thing is the comp. The comp really doesn't matter. There really isn't a DPS check. The healing check is not that bad. The only thing you really need is a monk healer or a multiple priests, a mass dispel. Also, Brewmaster Monk is insane. We didn't have one, but most tank comps will work, and we'll talk what makes like certain tank comps better than others when we get there. But like the best tank comp will probably be like Paladin Monk. So let's go in it. So P1, um, we'll just play it and then I'll show the raid plan. So P1 is completely scripted. So the first thing here is you have this weak ore here. I think comes from Liquid Pack. It's gonna drop 3 bombs, and once the weak ore runs out, you need to gate. So the idea here is you drop 3 pulls of the fire and then gate forward. That fire will truck. It's also really good to be in for AoE healing during this part. Also, if you notice, we lusted on pull for maximized DPS. The fight has no like percent timers or anything like or percent thresholds or anything. So the more damage you do now, the better. So the first thing coming up here is you have this balance of and disintegrate and the breath. So what we do and what a lot of guilds do is your first breath you're going to want a certain set of players in it. Now one thing to note is that breath will always be targeted on a melee DPS. So all the breaths are pointed away from range except for the second breath. The mythic mechanic, as you can see here, you have a stack of disintegrate you have to clear and a stack of the breath you have to clear is the easiest way of putting it. So these 2 targets here who got the first disintegrate completely off of RNG never need to clear disintegrate ever again in this phase. Now you have the first breath coming. It's not the best view, but it's off in this direction. And what you're going to see here is we have the Holy Paladin, the tanks, uh, and a priest healer. So that is 4 targets. Tanks, Holy Priest healer. It doesn't matter. I think it might be 5. But you have those. It's really, really important to have a healer in this spot, and I'll show you why in a second. So the tanks get in because they're tanky and they can just take the dot. The H-Pal gets in. They can dispel themselves just to get the dot off. And then you want a healer in there. Ideally a priest, but we'll talk about what they do later. Now what you're going to see here is he takes it and he gets gripped in. So you see this? He gets gripped, and now you have bombs 2, 3. Personals are coming up. This is the first big part of the fight. So you see the second breath coming. So second bait. Now you see all our melee are clumped here. They're going to be baiting the breath here. And everyone in the raid is going to clear the breath at once. And then we're going to rip 3 mass dispels. And the mass dispel should be able to take off all these debuffs. And you see the priest who was in the first breath, he's off to the side. And he's starting to cast healing. And that's why it's important to have a healer in that first one. Because now he's off here. He's casting his salve, and then he'll rip an MD after. So he's healing basically for free. And you can see the MDs going down. And most of the dots are cleared. Now what you'll see here is we're baiting bombs. We always use this line as reference for this set. So you see we're on the line. 2, 3, and where is it? Disintegrate 3 here is coming out again. These are soloed. So Disintegrate 1 was soloed, Disintegrate 2 was soloed, and Disintegrate 3 was soloed. And this number is chipping down. There's less and less people who need to clear. This Disintegrate 4 is the where everyone's going to clear, like everyone cleared on the breath. All right, so Resto Shaman is absolutely insane here because so many wipes are caused by someone dying without clearing, and this APT can just save them. So we go here. Also note that this does not come out of the boss. This is an image off the boss. And then what you're going to see here is you're going to have one player basically be assigned to go back and do it every time. The way we did it is there was no call. It was double range. The range figured it out. If it was double melee, there was a priority system. So like Demon Hunter being the most mobile warrior, maybe like you make a priority system and then they would go out in their priority system, or you can just manually call them. So right now the range figured it out, and you're going to see all these guys get hit. Now, let's go back. There is some bad RNG. This pull was fine, but you can see here these fire swirls are coming down. You need to go up and down the line and not side to side. If you're this target and there's something on you, this is where the APT comes in. You can be saved by that. You can also put externals on those players to try and save them. But yeah, sometimes there's like literally 3 fires here, and they can't move because if they move, then the whole group has to move, and that's unideal. But here, it's just easy. They have to move forward. And then we get into melee for AoE healing, and that's going to conclude P1. Now, there's a few important things, and I usually don't do this, but because the healing cooldowns are so critical for this fight, I'm going to show you. So, again, I would look at logs of your comp, and this is not 1000% accurate of what we did because healers did change things, which is why I never share these things. However, what I can share with you is why we did certain things. So, obviously, you're going to have movement speed assignments. I strongly advise you set those up. We had 3, extremely strong. Now, the first breath here, or sorry, this is the second breath. So you can see the second breath, we have personals, him, Devo, what is it, Salve, Healing Tide, Darkness, AMS, or sorry, AMZ. So that is like half the healing CDs right there. And the reason for that is because that breath does so much damage, and we're clearing all at once. So we just need to stack everything on each other. Now with Double Holy Priest, you're able to use Symbols of Hope twice to reset your personals a minute later, even less than a minute later. If you only have 1 Holy Priest or 0 Holy Priests, you will not be able to do this. So you need to better plan where you use your personal. Probably it's better to use them on the Disintegrate clear, but it's really up to you guys. So anyway, we have some mini cooldowns here. Like this health pot, we didn't use by the end. We used it early to help catch people up, but again, this is why you don't copy all CDs. And you can see here, double symbol if you have it, but the AoE clear, which is the Disintegrate clear we just saw in the log, you can see we have everything else. Personals, spell warding, to spell ward someone so they can just stand there and heal. Him, Salve, APT, VE, Rally. And then we have Darkness after. If you Darkness when there's fire swirls going on, the fire swirls will become invisible. I'm not sure if they fixed that, but it was a problem. So you even see in our VOD that we Darkness after all the fire swirls were away inside the link, which you can see is right here. We also have Hellstones assigned. So, better, it might be better like long term to do like health pot here than hold Hellstone or something like that, but you can decide amongst your own guild. So this is why I'm showing you, because again, it's going to happen again in P3. But this is the general mock-up of P1, and just to look at the raid plan, it might have minor edits, I don't remember, but we're going to bait 3 bombs. Melee are going to bait breath away for the first set, and we're going to have those sets of players take them. We do the triple drop. The breath is going to be baited on the range. This is the first breath, the second breath with all the CDs. And then we're just going to bait bombs, and disintegrates are just soloed. soloed. Oh, sorry. This is not the best image in the world, but this is the mass clear. So these arrows should be pointing at the group, but this would be the mass clear. And note that anyone who's in this list needs to clear. Anyone who already has the debuff off, stand off to the side. There is no reason to take damage for no reason. And again, it comes out of this image. It doesn't come out of the boss. Very, very, very important. So that's P1. With gear, P1 becomes extremely easy, and P3 is the hard phase, in my opinion. So we get raid damage here, and what you're going to see, no one died, but we're going to gate, and we're going to gate on this mark. And now, just like Heroic, everyone gets a bomb. Actually, don't know if you get a bomb in Heroic, but you get a bomb, and we stack up on this marker. And we have this weak aura here that's telling us, hey, your bomb's about to drop, right? Get on this marker. So making sure that this is done right is a huge pain because players get lazy or they forget. So like really hammering it home early on is something we could have done better. And just be like, you have to be at blue. You just have to do it, because if you're not, you're making other parts of the fight harder. And you're also making like situations like this, like if there was like a pull here because someone messed up, like how is he getting this? He would have to come over here and like cut on the edge. But he's just gonna walk in the side, he grabs it, and right now what we have is we have a tank come up early and they're calling the countdown on when they're interrupting. It doesn't really matter when you come up, I guess, but you know, once the tank gets the interrupt, you want to be up to maximizing your DPS. So here, the first bait is going to be right after. So again, like if you have bad pulls, this is cursed. You're coming out, you have to dodge pulls. It's really bad. One thing to note with these is this will phase you under the floor. If you're like a mage, you can alter time. I think warlocks can port back up. There's like actually ways to outplay depending on your class, but most classes will die. So we get first breath, ads come down, and this is where the struggle bus starts to happen because the positioning is really tight. So the general flow of the phase is range will always get breath, and melee always get blossoms. So you'll see here that the range put the breath and the melee put the blossoms, and all these ads need to be taking this debuff off of them. The only way they do that is by standing in the blossoms. Now we have interrupt CDs, like AoE CDs for the ads, and we have individual interrupts for the big guy. So AoE CDs on small ads, individual interrupts for big ads, similar to Razageth. However, on this fight, if you miss interrupts, especially early in your prog, it's just going to wipe. Later in your prog, you can probably miss a few, like one or two and be fine. But that, you know, that needs to be hammer home as well. Have your interrupt weak aura and all that good stuff. So, 2 bombs are coming down here, and every guild does this slightly different. But you'll see that we used a druid and a holy priest. Now, and then this DK goes down, but this is very specific for the DK's timers to maximize his DPS on the boss. He's not getting a bomb. So, those 2 guys are going down, and they pick up the bomb and stand at this stuff to get 10 stacks, and they're dropping pools when they go down, so you see how they're kind of close to the other pools. Now, this first arrest comes out, and we can see we're kind of scooting over here to the left. This first arrest, what we do every time is we assign a priest. Okay, every time someone gets to arrest, you're gripping them. Especially this first one, which is really important. See, this first one, you have a tank bomb coming. So even though he was 3 steps away, we just got in the habit of gripping. And the tank bomb comes out instantly, right? So like if you do it late, then people get knocked into the tank bomb, and it's really bad. And now we have second breath coming. Now notice how the boss is positioned here. The idea here is we're trying to get the healing debuff off the ads instantly. So we're shooting the boss will he'll always target a range player. However, if he's too close to the edge, he won't really know where to go. He needs enough room to do the breath animation. So that's why he needs to be kind of in the middle. So you'll see here, We're positioned here trying to get it over the breath. Yep. Because the ads will always spawn basically under him, and most of them get off instantly. Uh, if the big guy gets it off immediately, then the little guys will just die. So now all of them have it off, and the melee bait the blossoms. And now we have a second bomb here. So this guy, he's coming around. He's going to get gripped once he makes that turn. Dispel, and then you gate back because you have bombs instantly. So you just stack on this gateway for double bomb. So that's one bomb. That's two bombs. And now your mages are going to be grabbing and going. Wait, that might have been warlocks. I think mages grabbed last set. But again, you can see it in here. So like we have Druid, healing priest, then DK, then double mage, then double warlock. So this is pretty standard. But anyway, I think that was actually the warlocks who were going down. Regardless, this third one gets sketchy because now look at this. Look at all these random pulls. These are from, I think these are actually from the bombs in P1. So we're going to position here. We just need to spread the gap. We don't want to fall in this. So notice how everyone's moving up. They should be fine. Good. And now you kill this last ad, and we go. Now, I want to talk about one more thing in this phase. So, baiting the blossoms is really important. These are pretty good baits. You'll see this is the third set of ads. It is hypercritical that you bait this blossoms correctly. There is no if, then, or buts. If you do not bait these correctly, you are going to run into so many problems in P3. So we mark the player. He's green, he's in there in orange, and we bait him like this. All right, every single time. And then we're gonna get this dispel, and we're trying to they're trying to do damage to the boss when the boss goes away. But killing this last ad, we're ready to go in. So let's just go to the raid plan real quick. I think it's up to date, but we will see. So yep, melee bait blossoms, breath. Bombs, carriers pick up and go down. Dress player goes behind, gets dispelled. Bait again, melee bait blossom. So it's just really repeating itself, right? But you can just look through VODs and kind of figure out the cadence of the fight. So other thing to note is this part. So the idea here is we're going to leave one tank up solo, and everyone's going to go down. They're going to get the haste buff, and they're going to clear their stacks. So we want to go in, and when you go in, there is grace period, but you go in and drop circles, which is why it's kind of important to drop those on the side, because if they're in the middle, you're screwed. The other thing to note is your stacks matter. So these guys are at 1 stack. This guy's at 4 stacks. 2 stacks. 4 stacks. 2 stacks. So if they go in at the same tick, then 1 or 2 stacks really doesn't make a difference. But let's say someone's at 6 or 7 stacks. They're going to spawn a pool, and everyone's going to run to that pool and die. So making sure that you understand stack management so that this little tiny grace period doesn't allow people, look how close that was, to go into a pool and die. I don't have a VOD of the outside phase of the tank doing this. That is going to be on your research, but the idea is he's basically baiting some mechanics on him, and then he's going to get the duress, and he's going to dwarf it off. Alright? So he dwarfs off that duress, and he's good to go. And he also spawned rocks. So he spawns rocks, dwarfs duress, picks up ads. It's an extremely hard job. And usually your brewmaster does that. We didn't have a brewmaster. I've seen Pallies do it like we did. I've seen DKs do it. They're all dwarfs. So if you have double bear, I have no idea how you would handle it. You'd probably have to send a healer up or something like that. Anyway, P3, hardest phase. So in short, you're gonna get up, and you have bombs instantly. So we have 2 markers here. There's blackhole out, and there's barrages. Regardless of who has what mechanic. Range players can always bait bomb. It doesn't matter if you have the black hole. It doesn't matter if you have barrage. So what we're going to do here is we're starting at skull, and we're going to move over to the right. We're going to drop 1 bomb, 2 bomb, black hole goes in, barrages go back. And then everyone who doesn't have barrage needs to get in this soak, and you step out of the soak, and you never be in front of the boss. So that is how that first mechanic goes. The other thing to note is they made the visual way clearer, I saw, but these swirls, you just cannot get hit. Like, it just cannot happen. This is one of the reasons why I pulled the boss so much. If you get hit, you just ruin the pull, because you're at high stacks. Every time you go down, you add a stack to the raid. And actually, we'll go back. I didn't even mention this. During this part here, oops, a little before. Alright, during this part, let's say someone with 0 stacks is going in. He dodges the pull on the ground. However, everyone else went in. He has 18 stacks. He dies. Like, that's it. Like, he can't live 18 stacks. So, you really need to think of that kind of stuff. Again, when you go down, you get a stack, which is why like Paladin will bubble and stay up. I think Bob prevents the stack from coming. There's a few things you can do if you're the solo tank up, but if you're a player, you're absolutely screwed. So going back here, we'll watch it one more time. Skull, we're waiting for the bomb. Doesn't matter what mechanic, you're dodging swirls, dodging squirrels, dodging squirrels. Bomb 1, move to orange. Bomb 2, move to melee. Barrage is out, everyone soaks this, dodging swirls, dodging swirls. Here, bad swirl, bad swirl, bad swirl. Step out of this, and that's how you handle the first mechanic. Now, the first hide is coming, and you can see the tank baited this when he was solo, but this is causing the whole area, the whole line across the room to be safe. So the general rule is if you're not moving, getting blown back, you're safe. So like he knows he's safe here. But again, swirls can still fall. Do not get hit by a swirl. But again, if you're not falling back, if you're not going backwards, you're completely safe. Now, first hard part of really hard part of P3 is this. So what we're doing here is we're lining up the dispels on this gate here, and the call is 3, 2, 1, mass. When I start calling the countdown, you pop your personal. There's going to be so much damage going off here. So 3, 2, 1, mass. We have a weak aura that tells us mass dispel. That's the Ner'zhul weak aura. It definitely exists on Wago. Once that mass dispel weak aura is done, you instantly use your gateway button. You gate, so he actually misses the gateway, but it's okay. You're going to go over here. You're going to soak the black hole, and then you're going to move out. And there's a lot of mess ups at there. It's just people missing the gateway and not making it back. There's a lot. He's a hunter, so it's very easy for him to get back. So we'll watch that one more time, just to make it clear. So mass dispel coming. These guys line up, and then 3, 2, 1, mass, gate, and then move to the left. We always put the AMZ to the left, so we move into it, and that's good. Now another thing I need to mention is there is bomb pickups here. So the mages pick up those first bombs that we saw. Now, most guilds will have one, like either double mage or mage and something. Their goal is to come out right now. So, like, they want to come out as soon as the duress target picks someone. So he came out a second early. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. The only issue is they could come out like really far, and then it gets really awkward. But he's close, so it's whatever. He moves in, and we're good. But ideally, they come out right after the duress cast. Yeah, that is that. And those mages have an extremely hard job. That's the hardest bomb pickup they pick up because, again, you have black holes and barrages and bombs, and people can't be near the bombs because they give stacks. There's a lot going on there. But we fast forward. There's ads out. We MD tricks. We still have our AoE rotation. These cannot get a cast off. Now, this is right after. And what you're what you're seeing here is, this is actually really nice to see because I would have totally forgotten this. Because he didn't get the black hole, he knows he's supposed to be at 4 stacks. He just knows, like, he missed one. So what he does is he tries to step in here to pick up a stack. He actually didn't get it, but that's okay. However, there's 2 bombs. So bomb 1 and then bomb 2. So it's the same thing. We just move left this time. 1, 2, and then we get this black hole here. This is spell warded by us. Granted, he could have turtled, but like we were just at the point where we were just like instantly spell warding the target, and you want to take out this rock set that you just made. Oh, sorry, not yeah. But you want to take out the rock set to reduce the raid damage, and you're good. So now it just becomes dodging simulator for a while. You have barrages going on. The barrages are moving backwards. They don't go through the raid. You can see it up here. And the second hide is coming. So again, it's just dodging simulator. Now we're kind of ramping up for the end of the fight. Alright, so right here, we're ramping up. And we're going to get this black hole. So, let's look at this again. So we know the mage just went down. Now the tanks, you need to look at logs of tanks of your class and figure out when they're going down. Very important. I'm not going to walk through that. But the warlocks grabbed them second for us here. We highly regret that decision. It should have been a hunter and like another immunity class. Because what's going to happen is this black hole is baited on the target with the least amount of stacks. So our one warlock stood in a swirl. I think it was on purpose. And it baited it on this warlock 100%. So he's just going to go die to the left here. If you fall in a hole when you're doing this, you're just going to kill the whole raid. So he goes to the left. And we're good. Now, again, we had Symbols of Hope, so we have personals here as well. But this is like the next 20 seconds here is the last. It's like the hardest part of the whole fight. So the duress will instantly go left, okay? Because we have bombs. And what's going to happen here is we need to get that dispel instantly, and we need to drop 2 bombs. So we try to get around Moon, but it doesn't really matter. So anyone around Star needs to run away from Star, bait away. So we get 1, we get 2. And our mages are picking them up again. But however, they're going down with everyone this time. So the mages are grabbing them again. And that is that overlap. Now I'm going to bring back up this healing sheet because it's time to talk about it. These are notes that you can make to like make timers on when you go down or not. However, you'll see here that just like P1, there's some instances that there's just a ton of damage. So the black hole after that mass dispel is pretty dangerous. As well as the meteor soak 20 seconds later, and you can see a lot of our CDs being used there. This is the part of the fight we're at now. The knock dispel is also extremely dangerous, the one we just saw. So you can see we have Aura Mastery there. Then we have SLT and Link. So there's really like 3 instances of a lot of damage in this phase. But again, if you know that going in, like you can figure out your CDs. But if you look at the end of the fight, there is literally nothing. Literally. So again, like you want to like put a lot of your CDs early on these early overlaps. So anyway, now we have this weak aura telling us to find our melee DPS. And what you do is you basically find him, and it's his job to find a swirl. So he identified this swirl as a swirl to go down, and we need to get down before this cast. So everyone's getting in and getting stacks and going down. Now let's talk about that. So, stack management. You'll see here, the Warlock died, he has 0 stacks. This gives you 1 stack, alright? So, you need to make sure that you are at 5 or more yeah, I think it's 5. 5 stacks because the swirl is going to give you a certain amount of stacks. So if you have less stacks, what's going to happen is you're going to get hit by the swirl, and you're not going to go down, and everyone else will go down, and you'll fall in a hole. So you can see that this Warlock who had 0 stacks picked up the Dispel stack and a swirl stack without even getting. So he knew he had to get hit by a swirl, and he needed to get dispelled. Those two together gave him 6 stacks. But he himself needed to get to 5, and that was the only way he could get to 5 or more. So now you can see everyone on the raid is 5 or more, except for the Paladin, which is correct because they're staying up solo. And we all go down together. The Paladin is up there bubbling, and we need to come up right after this dispel here. So he's going to get the duress, dwarf it off, and then we're going to come up. So you can see our timer here. So he's going to come up right after the duress, but he already knew that this was slightly early, so he's good. Actually, he came up early and turtled, my bad, so he could get more damage on the boss. But most people here, will wait for this to finish, this dispel, and then they're going to come up. Black hole's going to come out, and this will go on his left foot, and you're just dodging swirls here. You're going to drop left foot, everyone's going to soak, you're going to go right foot, and you're going to try to drag the boss in the mid here. We had some problems with these ads early. AoE Monk Taunt is extremely good, but actually, I think it actually happened on our kill. So he comes up early, and see how close these ads were they're casting and just like absolutely nuking the raid. So you need to make sure you have an AoE CC or silence that gets that insta. You can see we beamed, but again, like that wiped us 1 or 2 times. So we're gonna get up, and we're gonna absolutely destroy these ads. We're going to do the black hole right here. Some groups do it in the middle. It's literally fine. And we're going to go mid, and we're going to do the rest of the fight here. So we're dodging swirls. And right now, again, if you're not moving, you're safe. Very important. And barrages are going out. So like the general rule of thumb is, unless there's a barrage coming from like where the safe zone is lined up, you can just run backwards on the line. If it is coming right down the line, you just need to go die. So some players are moving back with the barrage. And this duress is going to come out, and then you have like 5 to 10 seconds to kill the boss. If that duress comes out, instantly external those targets, and it'll save you a few seconds. But that is the fight. I'm trying to think if I have any other tips. It's basically a dance. Struggle points, because like usually we don't overpull bosses. That it's an extremely hard tank fight. There's no doubt about that, especially the tank soloing up there. The tanks need to do a lot of research on when they taunt, when they take the debuff down. We didn't talk about that here. That is up to your tanks and up to your tank comp. The group of people taking the first bombs in P3 have an extremely hard job, because they need to get down with getting hit by 2 swirls, and they need to come up ideally after the duress, but before the mass dispel. P1 can be really challenging on your healers to make sure they're getting the check right. Making sure you're baiting the breaths correctly, also extremely important. P2 positioning wise is pretty easy. Melee need to hammer home how the bait blossoms perfectly, and tanks can kind of sometimes have problems with aggro and things like that, so make sure you have MDs and tricks, as well as getting your interrupts and your CCs perfect. That will help so much on your prog. Other than that, I don't really have anything else for this fight. You can message me anything if you have a question. All the weak auras we use are in the liquid pack or on Wago. There's nothing special here. Best of luck on your kill, and if you need anything, let me know. Zeskarn video will come once we re-kill the new version. But thank you, and have a good night. Peace.